Hard time with relationship because of girlfriend's ex. I can't tell how far this relationship will go based on only a year. I've M26 been dating my girlfriend F27 for about a year now and had some ups and downs, and I'm not completely sure where it's going. This is really my first longer term relationship, so I haven't navigated this much in the past. Some background. She moved to the city I live in last October and we met shortly after that, and have been dating since last January. There weren't any major issues until she wanted to go back to her previous hometown and pretty much said that I couldn't go. I had already been with her only weeks after we started dating was kinda weird to me and caused a little confusion for a while. This is in August this year. She had dated this guy who she insisted I was much better than for like 4 years prior and ended on bad terms. I didn't want her to see him and we fought a lot, mostly because I was overbearing about it. She eventually convinced me there's nothing to worry about. Then I come to find out she lied and had seen him on a night after she told me she was going to bed. Insists it was only to have a closing conversation and have him admit he was wrong for cheating on her, etc. After a while and a lot of questions, I felt like I believed her and could move on with the relationship. But still had doubt she wasn't over him and not sure if I can completely convince myself nothing happened. I've been at the point where I'm like 95% sure they didn't have sex, but I wanted to be with her and we moved on. In the next few months she had texted him a few times on more of a basis like they're just friends now. I don't like this because I don't want that to be any part of my personal life, so we fought about it some until I said that's a deal breaker for me and she has to decide to stop communicating indefinitely to be with me. For example, if he was in town I wouldn't want them to see each other alone and I definitely don't want to meet him, even as just an old ex. So she says she won't talk to him anymore, and as far as I know hasn't for a few months. I still have this lingering issue with what happened and admittedly some trust issues for it. With that said, I still like being with her and have kept the relationship going for my part. Sometimes I feel like she isn't quite as committed as me, which makes me worry, even though I don't have a fear of her cheating with a rando or something. Now I'm at a point where I can't decide if the situation with the ex or if my mistrust will fully go away, and not sure if I'm just prolonging us breaking up and wasting time. She's gonna be coming to Christmas with me and that's kind of stressing me out about spending more time with my family. I do feel like we are compatible and like being together, so it's been hard to navigate myself. We spend a lot of time together and enjoy each other, but some of these things just make me question what if something happens in a year or two and I regret not moving on now. Is there any advice or experience like this out there? Redditor's reactions. Next story after. Redditor 1, you set a boundary and that's the start. Don't fall for the "you're being insecure" crap, as that's just deflection from the real issue. You two may just be incompatible relationship-wise. She may need male orbiters to feel some sense of validation, and that includes her ex. The other issue, and it's a biggie, is that she may be an alpha widow in which she is pair-boated with her ex and he may be that guy that will always be around, no matter who she is with. Continue to feel out the situation and monitor for any weird behaviors. Texting more, not picking up often when called, spending more time with friends than normal. Stay diligent and don't be a fool. Op answer. It's tough, annoying because they now live across the country from each other, but she took her chance to see him one of the only times she could. Really the only part that I worry about, not really other guys here, even though this has made me more aware and pay attention to it. Since they cannot easily see each other, my biggest concern is just sometime down the road it comes up, then I feel I've wasted time not ending it before. I feel like my guy is usually right and this doesn't sit well, but I want it to work between us. Trying not to be blind to this issue though. Redditor 2, I don't like this because I don't want that to be any part of my personal life, so we've fought about it some until I said that's a deal breaker for me and she has to decide to stop communicating indefinitely to be with me. Ultimatums are the death of a relationship. I think that it's fair for you to set boundaries, but in this case it seems that you've already experienced a perceived breach in trust that you might not have even realized you'd be sensitive to. Consider relationship counseling. If she's truly over it, decide if you can take her at her words, and then take a moment to ask yourself if you're over her relationship. If you can't trust her, then you have your answer. Op answer, I agree, didn't want to do the ultimatum but was not okay putting up with something that I seriously don't like or feel respected for. Will be a hard line if I find out about it happening again, and that's what I struggle with, because I somewhat won't be surprised. Then will feel I've wasted time. Redditor 3, you don't have a lot of experience. You should dump her and keep building up your life experience. My experience says she's not a safe person to build a life around. If she cared about your feelings, this guy would be in her past. He's in your present. On to your next adventure. Story 2. I snitched on my ex for cheating on her current boyfriend. A few weeks ago my ex called me around 2 a.m. drunk and crying because she went over to a random guy's house and gave him a blowjob while she has a boyfriend lol. She later denied it and even went so far as to say that her boyfriend would hit me if I told him. He doesn't like me because she and I have been friends for a while with post-breakup benefits. Everyone I asked what I should do told me to let it go. But today I woke up feeling very spicy and I left him a message and then blocked him. Am I doing the right thing? I'm definitely acting out of defiance, but I also think it's justified. Story 3. Well, apparently my 27M girlfriend of 5 months 30F is happily married with 2 children. 5 months ago I met this incredible woman in a bar. She was with her friends and I bought all the drinks for her and struck up a conversation with her. We hit it off right away and I took her home that night and had a crushing time. However, she didn't stay the night, saying she had to get up early to go to work. For the next 5 months, we had a great relationship. We had good dates and had time at least 3 times a week. She very rarely stayed up at night, but I didn't think much of it as she actually had to get up early. Every time I tried to suggest that she live together, she said she wasn't ready for that yet. Understandable. We have stayed at her place several times, but just as she stayed overnight, it was very rare. I simply put it down to him being more comfortable in my apartment, because it was more cozy. Fool for avoiding me so as not to wonder why a seemingly single woman lived in a big house. I have Facebook, but I don't use it or other social media. I think it's a waste of time and she told me she doesn't use it either. Well, last week I decided to poke around on Facebook a bit and found her profile as we have 2 mutual friends, actually just acquaintances for me. This is where it gets weird. Her name was completely different from the one I knew her by. She is apparently happily married and has 2 children aged 3 and 6. She posts a ton of pics of her and her hubby doing all sorts of things as a couple, so I doubt they're separated or divorcing. She never told me anything about it. I found out pretty quickly that I was the other guy and I honestly feel physically bad knowing that. I have a deep-rooted hatred for cheaters and feel disgusted for doing so. I feel so stupid that I never thought about it before. Either I'm just a jerk or she masterfully hid it, maybe both. She has never said she is married with children and she has said she is single. Shit, even when I went to her house I didn't see any family photos or traces of her family. This bitch really went out of her way to hide all hints that she was married and had kids. I already feel bad as I write this. I haven't contacted her since I found out, with the excuse that I need to focus on work for a while. She thought she was beautiful. She still sent some nudes and timettes and how eager she was to see me again. I replied reluctantly, but only to keep her from becoming suspicious. God, I feel bad. She will tell her husband. He is so wrong and it pains me to know that this man has been deceived by his horrible wife. This hits hard since my aunt took it out on my uncle and he's the nicest man alive. Luckily, I'm in the habit of not deleting lyrics manually, so I still have most of our lyrics. I planned everything so I could show her husband. I want to find a way to meet him in person, but I have a feeling he's going to say to his wife, "Oh, honey, a guy called Other Man Problems asked me to meet him for coffee, and she'll help shovel a few bees down that throat." I found out where he was working on his Facebook, so I think I might try to catch him soon after he leaves. I intend to reveal all the details of the case, give her all the screenshots and, for my own safety, explain to her that I had no idea she was married. I don't know if proving the infidelity will help her, but I think it's the least I can do. I still feel sick of her lying to her family like that, so hopefully she gets what she deserves. Some of you might suggest that he has a C-F tish or maybe they have an open relationship or some garbage like that. Really, what are the chances? Besides, if he really did have a C-F tish, I'm sure she would have either mentioned it or took videos of us having time so she could show it to him, or maybe even have time in his presence. And if they were in an open relationship, I'm certain she would have told me that. No, I'm pretty sure she's cheating on her husband. So what should I do? Should I try and request to meet up online? Or should I try and find him in person? To those of you who might recommend telling her either you tell him or I will, hell ducking no. I'm not gonna give her an opportunity to weave some BLLS tale of how she had an emotional affair with me, moment of weakness, or some it. And to those of you who champion breaking up with her and just staying out of it entirely, G-fo. I'm not going to let her continue to lie to and betray him under the excuse that it's not my problem anymore. I'm not a S-city person, I won't give her a free pass for cheating. Update, Well, apparently my 27M girlfriend 30F of 5 months is happily married with 2 children. Currently typing this from my hospital bed because he beat the acid out of me. Just kidding. Some posters tried to tell me not to tell them, but they dodged. Most of you have told me to go through with it, but basically via email letter with no physical interaction. Although it was a huge risk, I thought it would be best for me to explain it to him in person, so I decided to meet him. I called work to explain that I would be late and then drove to his workplace around 7:20 a.m. Then I went in and waited in the lobby, checking the door for him to show up. He arrived around 8 a.m. and I immediately approached him, told him by name that I had something important to tell him, and asked if he could meet me after work at a nearby Starbucks. He was puzzled, but I convinced him it was very important and told him not to tell anyone. Luckily he accepted, so I went to work and carried on with my day as usual. At 5:30 I was waiting at Starbucks and he came in shortly after. Then the conversation started. I explained to him that what I was going to say would overwhelm him and asked for the opportunity to say my contribution without interruption. He allowed that, so I told him everything. About how I met his wife, how she used a fake name, the 5-month affair, how hard she went to hide it, everything. For my own safety, I pointed out that I didn't know she was married when I found out about her secret and decided to tell her as soon as I found out. I then handed him a folder with all the screenshots. She examined him, then stared at her coffee in total silence for a minute or two. Then she replied, "First of all, thank me for going to him with this information and doing the right thing. He said if he was in my position he would do the same." He then told me how he had suspected his wife of cheating on him, but then his wife lied to him and assured him nothing was wrong. Then for the next 10 minutes she asked about the relationship, like the dates we went on, the time of the she never made a al with him but often did with me, the conversations we had, etc., the whole truth. Eventually he was furious, but he didn't attack me or anything. Instead, he thanked me again for telling him and said I'm a good man. He then said that while he appreciated me telling him, he told me never to contact him again for obvious reasons. I totally got it and was cool with it. At that time, he was getting up to leave, so I asked him what he was doing. He said he would definitely divorce her and the screenshots would help as they seemed to have an infidelity clause in their prenup. She cheated on him early in their relationship. I was delighted to hear that. I wished her luck and we parted ways. I paid for his coffee. So here it is. Luckily I escaped unscathed. No injuries, nothing. I deleted the cheating bitch's number and erased all traces of this shitstorm from my phone. I am proud of what I have done and pray that the cheating whore faces harsh justice. Good night, Reddit, hero unsubscribe. Story 4, me 30M with my girlfriend 29F 1.5 years. A friend told me she's cheating but didn't give proof. Disposable and some details have changed because mutual friends are on Reddit. I've been in a relationship with a girl I met at work, we'll call her Martha, for 1.5 years, the last half of which has been long distance. We meet once a month for a weekend or so. We have another colleague, let's call him John, and we met her old girlfriend, let's call her Jane, on vacation we've taken for the past year. Jane works elsewhere and has been with John since their school days over 9 years. A week ago I received an email from Jane. I don't know you very well, so it's probably not up to me, but I've been rejected and I don't want the same thing to happen to the other injured party in this matter. John and Martha have been involved since October. I don't know how far or if it was earlier than that. I don't want to know either, because what I know beyond any doubt of their messages and then of his confessions is enough for me to break up. I am no longer in contact with anyone in this crowd, nor do I intend to be. I don't know what your relationship is with her. It was just a FYI, good luck and take care. I trust my girlfriend, so my first reaction was to show her this email and ask if John is okay after what appeared to be a bad breakup, as they are very close. She got defensive and said I had no right to accuse her and I should cancel the mail and never let her see if I really trusted her. I spoke to another colleague, Bill, and told him what had happened. He said John told everyone he broke up sometime before October, but he continued to date Jane, which everyone found strange. He stepped in and finally left him alone on the subject. He also told me that he and Martha were spending a lot more time together now, though he didn't suspect anything romantic. Now I'm not proud of this part, but I got frustrated at this point and wrote to Jane asking for proof. She replied that she didn't want to get involved any further and that the confrontation was personal, so she had no proof anyway. I replied desperately asking for a message chat to deal with. He replied and gave some personal details of the things he had read, the affection they had for each other, description of physical involvement etc. and said trust her or not but please keep her out for now. I confronted Martha about the details and she denied everything. I really don't know what to do. Update me 30M with my girlfriend 29F 1.5 years. A friend told me she's cheating but didn't give proof. First of all, thank you to everyone who replied to the post. I was too involved in the relationship to look at things objectively for what they were and needed an outside opinion. I'm normally a confident person, but it smelled like pure shit. Here's how it evolved. I told her that I was uncomfortable with this whole scenario and that I would prefer that she keep some distance from John. She broke down in tears and said she was just a good friend to help him through his difficult breakup. I demanded to know why he hadn't told me about the breakup if he knew what with all his constant complaining about all the other random stuff. She said she told everyone about the breakup, but she was still trying to make it work for her, so she wasn't sure what the scenario was. She proceeded to tell me Jane was a complete psychopath and told me horror stories about things she did to get attention. Jane was reportedly jealous of my girlfriend's closeness to John, even though there was nothing between them. She said John had finally severed ties with her, forcing her to go on a rampage and attack her Martha through me. I believed her and felt terrible for doubting her. After several of her tears were shed, I apologized profusely and suggested they both keep their distance until they sorted their issues out. Reluctantly she agreed. The next day yesterday I get a call from Bill, another colleague, and he tells me they were all out together and that he saw them making out when they apologized for a smoke break. Martha doesn't smoke. I didn't confront or respond. I asked Bill not to tell her or John to warn me. I told her I had left some files on her computer and couldn't remember where or what they were called, so I needed remote access to her system for some time. I pretended she was extremely urgent and I pretended to panic. I told her it would take me some time to transfer the files. She gave me access and went to take a shower. I went to her Gmail about her, she had nothing. Facebook chat, nothing. Skype, nothing. Made me want to think again that I'm terrible for doubting her. And then I realized that she had charged her phone via USB on her laptop. I went to the folders and there it was, the ugliness of the person I had loved for the past 1.5 years. Time chats, dirty photos, references to the nights they were together, the panic at discovering the other half. No, he hadn't broken up, he just told the people in the office that he had finished and finally a last message to take your time until things calm down. I cleared my tracks and logged out. I haven't confronted her yet. I choose between an icy, dignified exit and a dramatic exit that makes her cry. I don't think our relationships allows 2 updates, so updating here itself. Thanks everyone for your support and advice. I left without a word. I know she will try her emotional drama and try to explain away even this with absurd logic, playing the victim getting on the offense by attacking me. I'm not interested in any of that. I left and she can figure out why. To hell with her. Edit 2 as advised by a lot of you. Sent a thanks to Jane. She replied saying good riddance, take care. Martha has asked a few common friends to ask why I've blocked her. I've told them to not speak of her to me or of me to her. She's a mess from what I hear. I honestly don't give a s. Indifference feels sweet. Didn't expect to feel this good so soon. I'm grateful to her for being such an in-your-face BTCH, that sure helps. Thanks everyone for your support. To better times ahead. Cheers. Redditor's reactions. Redditor 1, just print out some of what you found, leave it where she will see it and pack your stuff and leave. Go no contact. Do not answer her calls, do not let her get closure. She not only cheated on you multiple times, she lied to your face. There is no going back. Op answer, lack of closure sounds like the best way I can get some satisfaction. I know it would drive her crazy. Agreed 100%, there's no going back. Redditor 2, stone cold dignified walk away. Damn though, Op. I'm so sorry for all of this. If I were you, I'd send a thank you to Jane unless that'd still be too much for her. I know she did request not to talk about it further and that you were sorry that it happened to her too. And unless you have other assets or things to split, the stone cold walking away is the harshest thing you can do without actually doing anything to her. That, and living out a happy life with a girl who's just as loving and as trusting as you are. These two shoals deserve each other, the girl who breaks a 9-year relationship, and the guy who is okay doing so. Yeah. That'll work. Edit, also if you confront her, you might risk her crying and trying to manipulate her way out of it. And if it were me, I know I'd have a hard time not saying things I don't regret. So keep your head high if you can. Edit 2, confuse the victim and cheater names. My B. Op answer, As much as the idea of petty vengeance appeals at the moment, I know walking away without a word is the best thing to do right now. And you're right, I really don't want to live through any crying or drama. The innocence she faked when she did need everything pinches so much. I'm sure she'll try to bail shit out of this too, and I'm so not interested. Redditor 3, as someone who has been cheated on, a year and a half later the stone cold walk away still feels good. I got some dignity back. I went NC and he was telling mutual friends for weeks that he wanted to talk to me. I was bent on moving on ASAP. I regret nothing. Op answer, thanks for sharing this. I'm sorry you went through this. You sound like a strong, sensible person and I'm very glad you did that for yourself. I hope I can too. Redditor 4, she burst into tears saying she was only being a good friend to him to help him through his rough breakup. I demanded to know why she hadn't told me about the breakup if she knew what with all her continuous yapping about every other random thing. She said he had told everyone about the breakup but was still trying to make it work with her, so she wasn't sure what the scenario was. She went on to tell me that Jane was a complete psycho and told me horror stories of things she did for attention. Jane was allegedly envious of my girl's closeness with John even though nothing was going on between them. She said John had finally severed ties, which caused her to lash out and attack her Martha through me. That is some next level deceit right there. Op answer, this. When Gmail, Facebook, Skype all were clean, I remembered her tears and felt like a monster for an instant. When I saw the pictures, it was instant sinking feeling. I still can't wrap my head around how someone can be this committed to their lies. Redditor 5, I would send a quick thank you to Jane. You badgered her a bit for information and she, despite being uncomfortable, she did what she could. She's done you a big favor and saved you a lot of wasted time. As for the rest, I'd pack up and leave without a word. She will definitely try to reach out to you, and coldly denying her any interaction is the best revenge. A big screaming fight would give her too much satisfaction. I say take that power away from her. Op answer, I did the latter for the reason you cited, didn't want her to get the satisfaction. I do owe Jane a lot undoubtedly. I may drop her a thank you later, but still contemplating as she asked to be left out of this in her last message.